Served in Frankfurt, Germany for 18 months as a enlisted Army soldier in 1988 as a radio operator. He then joined the Army National Guard, where he went on to attend Officer Candidate School at the California Military Academy in San Luis Obispo, where he then became a second lieutenant in 1994, eventually reaching the rank of first lieutenant. First Lieutenant Daniel Cardona served this country for over 20 years. Please help me welcome to the podium, First Lieutenant Daniel Cardona.
Good morning, everybody. And happy Veterans Day. And if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. I apologize, I'm a little nervous. I'm born and raised in Duarte, and I got a lot of family here. So I didn't really know what to say, but I want to thank the city of Duarte for inviting me to speak in my hometown, especially my cousin Louis Valenzuela and Marilyn Mays. It's funny how things happen. I still live in Duarte, and I get this Duarte newsletter, and I'm going through it, and I see Veterans Day ceremony, and a good friend of mine, Henry Valenzuela, was here today. I'd like to recognize him. He spoke last year. And it looks like he's given a good motivational speech, and I don't know if I can top that, but I really didn't know what to say today, and I asked Louis and Marilyn, I said, just talk about your experiences. So basically that's what I'll do. I decided to join the Army in June of 1988, primarily because I was flunking college. I wasn't doing very good. And if you notice on those banners, I come from a family of veterans, a lot of Cardonas, Valenzuelas, Velascos, and Contrerases. They're all from Rocktown, Duarte. So if you're from Duarte, you know what Rocktown is. And so I went to the Los Angeles MEP station and dark 30 in the morning, and took my oath, and I enlisted for 2 years. It's the shortest enlistment out of the military. So first duty station was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Did my basic training there. Yeah. And so after that, I went to the signal school in Fort Gordon, Georgia. It was about an hour bus ride, but the South is very humid. And if you know and you drill there, you'll get, let's call it jock itch, so you're marching, and and I had never experienced that, in Duarte. We got this nice, great weather. And so that was new to me. So, but 5 months in the South, I was very happy to get orders to go to Fort Lewis, Washington State. So good, I get to go back to the West Coast. And when you know it, about 35 years ago or so to this day, my orders got changed, and it changed to Germany. So it was a shock to me. I'd never really been anywhere out of Duarte, to be honest with you. So the day after Thanksgiving in '88, flew to London, and then another smaller plane to Frankfurt Rhein-Main Air Force Base. So when I got there, there's snow on the ground, very, very cold. The first thing they had us do, that we did in our signal outfit, was help clean the vehicles coming back from the field. And so I'm thinking, man, cold water and there's snow on the ground. And I'm a Southern California boy with used to weather like this, and it was miserable. But that's what we had to do, and that's the way it started in Germany, like that. But it was a good outfit, 533rd Military Intelligence Battalion, and so we were connected there with the signal unit. One thing I wanted to mention about my 18 months there, it's a 2-year tour in Germany, but I only enlisted for 2 years, so I only had to be there 18 months. But one of the things that was kind of neat being there was the fall of the wall happened, in 1989. And so, that was a great time to be there. And two things I remember. I lived on the economy, which means you don't live in the barracks. I was married at the time, and we lived in a small apartment. It was actually just one room apartment. And on the second floor, when I went downstairs one day after the fall of the wall, they started having these little cars come over here, like those smart cars, those small little smart cars. And I'm looking at it, and I tapped on the hood, and it's like made out of wood. It was really bizarre, but they were coming, from East Germany to freedom, to the west. And that's one thing I remember. The other thing I remember was a civilian. A lot of people stay in Germany and live there, especially Frankfurt, because it's a big city. So this guy was selling at the PX a piece of the wall, and you pay $50, you get a piece of the wall and a T-shirt. So I bought it, and then I put the T-shirt in the washer. Never wore that T-shirt again. It like 2 or 3 sizes too small. But that's what I thought was funny. It was a capitalist, American trying to make money off the wall. So that was all right. So anyways, I ended my service there in Germany in April of '90, and the military wants to recruit you to go to reserves. Because they trained you and everything, spent all that money on you. So I wasn't too high on going into the reserves, but I was married with a new kid. My baby was born. My oldest daughter was born in Frankfurt, 97th General Hospital on Christmas Day in 1989. Yeah, so it was really, really special. And I decided to negotiate with the recruiter, in-service recruiter. He says, yeah, you know what? You can have a bonus, but you can't have the student loan repayment program. You can't have them both. And I had a bunch of student loans from my time in college when I dropped out. So I said, okay, then I'm not going to join. And I kind of knew how the way the military worked. And so sure enough, about a week before I ETS'd, he says, hey, I found a unit for you in Burbank. It'll give you the student loan repayment program and a bonus. So I decided to join. And it was a signal unit out of Burbank. And so I drilled there for about 4 or 5 months, and my job took me to the Bay Area. And so I transferred units up there to a signal unit in Alameda. It was right near Oakland, right on the bay. And wouldn't you know it, after 2 or 3 months, they closed down. They closed the unit. So I went to a supply unit at the Sharps Army Depot in Lathrop, up in Northern California. That's where they assigned us. So I had nothing to do anymore with signal. They taught me how to drive a 5-ton truck, like a semi-truck. So I was a truck driver for, I don't know, it was about that summer and a few months also in addition to that. So I learned how to drive a big rig right there. That was kind of nice. We were like the California Army National Guard auto parts store. We would deliver all kinds of auto parts to all the National Guards in California. So I made my way back to Duarte here because I started going back to school at Cal State Fullerton. Went back to the old unit in Burbank. And then in 1992, the Rodney King incident happened. So I got called up. I got federalized. And what I wanted to mention, I was married, and my wife loved the Trails soup and bread. So that was the last thing I did before I got activated to go to the Burbank Army, was to pick her up some bread and soup. I always remember that. And then so 15 days we were training, to not have any incidents happen. And in fact, I never saw any action when I was in Germany. I never been through any wars or anything. These guys on the list here, I was talking to my cousin yesterday at Denny's, because they give you a free breakfast, and he was telling me about my uncle Robert Cardona. He was in the Navy, and his ship got hit by a kamikaze pilot. And I just remember my dad telling the story that Robert had blood coming out of his ears and his nose. Shook him up pretty good. So he has the war stories. The only war story I have was during the riots. We were guarding a Kmart in the San Fernando Valley, and they gave us live ammunition to put in our ammo pouch. So I didn't see any war or anything, but that's the closest I came to combat. One thing that did happen was some guy comes in a truck and started doing donuts in the parking lot. So we're there with our rifles looking at him doing donuts in the parking lot, and I'm like, what's going on here? But that was it, that's the closest I ever came to combat. And that was in 1992. So then 1993, we were drilling at the Armed Forces Reserve Center in Los Alamitos. And we were taking classes in a building, and I saw one of the flyers, and it said, Officer Candidate School, you needed, I think, 30 units of college, which I had. I had been at Citrus College. I'm glad there's a representative from Citrus College here, because that was actually the greatest time of my life, right there at Citrus College. Coming from Duarte, going to Citrus College. It was really, really nice. Yeah. So, and you know what? When I left Citrus, I wasn't doing that good either academically. And I tried to join the Army at that time at the recruiting station right across the street from Citrus, but they wouldn't let me because I had braces. So it's kind of a drag. Oh, man. But later on, braces came off and I joined the Army. I was a little older. I was 24 years old. But anyway, so in 1993, I joined they make you resign the military. So I was telling somebody just yesterday that they give you, I got 2 or 3 honorable discharge certificates. So I had to get out of the Army to go into Officer Candidate School. And it was, the regular Army has their Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning, Georgia. But the way the California National Guard does it, it's I believe an 18-month program, and you're just drilling on weekends, and then 2 consecutive summers you go for 2 weeks. It's kind of funny how that worked out, because the senior phase, I got to go to Fort Lewis, Washington after all, for about 15 days. It was the second, we flew up there, commercial airlines, but on the way back, we flew military aircraft, helicopter. And the helicopter was from San Francisco to San Luis Obispo. But one thing that did happen when I was in Fort Lewis, Washington, was we were doing a lot of drilling, low crawling, and so forth. And we were marching afterwards, and I almost fell out of the ranks, and the lieutenant could see that I was hurting. So he stopped me and he says, "Hey, have you been drinking water?" I said, "Yes, all kinds of water, He goes, "Well, now you're a heat casualty, so you have to be careful." So I had to wear a ribbon. I forgot what color. Do you remember what color it is? Red, yeah, a red little ribbon on your chest to tell you you're a... So I started using that throughout the rest of my life, drinking a lot of water. And I ended up coaching cross country and track. So I always told my runners, hey, whenever you see a drinking fountain, you drink. You can never have enough water. So the Fort Lewis thing happened in '94. I graduated from Officer Candidate School in 1994, and I was given my commission with one of my family members. Here's there, Sam Martinez. Sam, raise your hand. He gave me my coin, to become an officer, and so that was kind of neat as well. That was 1994. So then 1995, I went back to Fort Gordon, Georgia, to Signal Officer Basic Course. So it's just kind of humbling, because before, when I was there, I was an enlisted soldier, so I'm saluting all the officers, and now I'm being saluted. It's really, really a humbling experience, but a neat thing. So that was 1995. Then the last 2 things I did in the military was 1996. I moved back to Humboldt State University, where I joined the Army, where I was flunking out, where I had quit. And it was kind of nice. I ended up getting my degree at Cal State Fullerton in '95, but in '96 I got my teacher credential. So to go back up at Humboldt State, where I kind of felt like a failure, was kind of neat, But anyway, I joined an engineering battalion up there. So we ended up going to Panama for 3 weeks. Some small town in Panama called Changanola, something like that. But anyways, one thing I remember about that was the plane landing on an airstrip just made out of dirt, but we had to circle it many times before we landed. So a lot of guys got sick. A lot of guys were hurting. I didn't get sick, but you get all nauseous and everything. So we were there for 3 weeks building a base camp for hospitals and churches and schools. And so I was right there with the guys, banging nails into wood. And that was pretty much the experience I had there. One thing that caught my attention was I talked to one of the locals there. He had never owned a jacket. It's near the equator, so it never gets cold. He never had a jacket his whole life. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Then my last thing that I did was in 1997. Moved back down to LA because I was now teaching, and the unit I was in was San Pedro, and during that summer of '97, they asked me if I wanted to drill with a unit out of Modesto because I was living in Delano at the time, and she goes, "Would you like to go to Hawaii for your annual training?" And I said, "Okay, yeah, I'll go to Hawaii. Who wouldn't want to go to Hawaii?" So, yeah, I went up to Modesto and we flew to all over the place, out of Travis Air Force Base, and then stopped in Oxnard or Ventura, small airport there. But then we flew eventually to Hawaii. And so I don't know if you know about Hawaii, but we were on the Big Island, the side of Mauna Kea, I think it is, and it's very cold at night. Very, very cold. You can see wild boar out there. But do you know it snows in Hawaii? On that big island, that high mountain, there's snow on there. So it was very, very cold. And pretty much that was it. That was the end of my military career. The rest of the 10 years that I did was in the inactive reserve, the IRR. But those are just my experiences. A small kid, growing up in Duarte. I went to Maxwell in Northview, the old Northview, and then Duarte High School. Very proud and humbled to be here today, speaking in front of the city of Duarte. So I want to thank you very much for coming, and happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service all the day.